Hello, sports card friends, hobbyists. ZiggyNo back with another story. This is a sports card story. Before I get into the story, I want to share a little extra afterwards. I'm going to talk a little bit about Tua and Andrew Luck and how that impacts the hobby. I also want to talk a little bit about redemptions, the drama with Panini, redemptions in general, Fanatics, and Ken Golden. And then lastly, just going to give you a little forecast on where I see the hobby going, since everybody's, we all got an opinion. They're like heinies. So back when I first got into sports cards again, this was probably 2015, 16. I'm going to keep this story kind of short. My sons got me back in the sport because they started collecting at school. And the big card to get at school, right, in school was Prism. Actually, Prestige was actually pretty cool. And Prism. Those were the two popular kid sets. Excalibur actually came on as well. And that was really cool because Excalibur was like the kids were trading it and it has patches and autographs. And it was really cool. It's much more expensive. It was like $35. Like I remember talking to a friend about it. It's like, I can't believe I'm wasting $35 in this small box of cards. This is ridiculous. Thinking back to my youth and what cards used to be and so forth. But anyway, the reason I'm talking about that is that somebody told me back then, a long time ago, and I forget who it was and I forget where it was. I think it was a local card store. We're talking about all the new stuff. Like I remember talking about patches and autographs and how cool this was and that was. And his whole comment to me goes, there's two truths about the hobby. He goes, autographs and history. He goes, collect autographs and history. If you stick to that, you're going to do well because there's not an infinite amount of autographs. Now, I know people are going, what do you mean? There just isn't. Somebody can't sit there forever and write as many autographs. There's going to be some number of autographs that's going to be capped, right? Everything else, there can be an infinite amount. The other one was collect history. Now, at that time, his comment was, and that's why people chase the rookie card. The rookie card's really the only historic card. It's his first card, right? It's you don't know what the player is going to do. Now, this is before the pre-rookie cards and the prospecting. I won't say it was before because it was only like 10 years ago, but 8 years ago. But he was taking in consideration the rookie card, collect that. He also mentioned that with what was going on in the hobby, it was very cool that these products like Exquisite and National Treasures had player and game worn material and relics. And that was mind blowing. Because again, you could think about, again, this is years ago, but a jersey would sell for like say $20,000 because it was game worn jersey. And you got a little piece of that in a card that you can show up to your friends. With, yeah, this is a game worn jersey for when Tom Brady played against the Rams, blah, blah. That's pretty cool. And that's awesome. That's history. Now, fast forward. What's happened is a lot of new people came in. We, the consumer, have been duped, which happens, kind of an evolution of a hobby. We've been duped to forget that the real value is in the autos and the history, because that's what used to drive a product. When they would make a product, they had to think about how much the auto cost was, how much the relic cost was. All the printing production costs were relatively flat or fixed cost. Somewhere we let them, bring us shiny shimmers, silver prisms, and then gold shimmers and prisms and refractors and short prints and this and that. And we lost focus of what, we all know. I mean, in our hearts, guys, in our hearts. I don't care if you have a 101 magic medallion from the Willy Wonka chocolate factory. The Willy Wonka chocolate factory does not exist and you're not going to get ownership of it. So it's really just a card. Okay. If it doesn't have an autograph, and it doesn't have history to it, it's not worth much in the long run. Now, I know people say, oh, Ziggy, people make, and they do make money. They will make money off these short prints and cards of 10. But again, I'm just saying, we stopped everything. You fast forward 50 years from now, you time capsule this stuff. People aren't going to look back and go, hey, you got a gold shimmer numbered to 10 from, this year, LaMelo's second year. Was that the year he was wearing the jersey like that? No one's going to care. Okay. So, taking that in consideration, let me share some other thoughts with you. The Tua story that happened, I think I might have mentioned this. The Tua, the head injury, card value, card prices, how are people reacting? Here's what I take from that. Here is the screaming canary in the cave that's dead in the cage right now. Football players are not going to play as long as they used to play. Okay, if I'm Tua, this year took a couple of years off his career. It did. Why would he want to play for 15 or 20 years? Man, he just had two head injuries, one publicly on TV where everybody saw him. I mean, that's why. He's going to have kids eventually and family. He's not going to do that. Andrew Luck was the first one that gave us an example of that. And why people say, why did Andrew Luck walk away from the game? Why would you continue to play? At some point, the amount of money you make versus the risk that you take changes. Like you could go do other things and get the rush. You can make your own football league on Sundays in your own neighborhood, right? My point is people today who collect cards thinking that they're going to have the next Tom Brady, it's just not going to happen, man. Like Patrick Mahomes is a great player, and everybody loves Patrick Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson and well, Josh Allen and guys. They're not going to be the next. There's not going to be a guy who wins 7 Super Bowls again. There's not going to be a guy who goes 20 years, 23 years in the league. Now, if Josh Allen wins a Super Bowl for the Bills, he's going to be immortalized because they need a ring. But again, fast forward 50 years, the only people who are going to want that card are going to be Bills Mafia fans. I know they're big, but take these thoughts into consideration, guys. Right? So what I tell you to do, collect his autograph, right? Collect him in personal, meet him at a game, get a game ticket, you get an autograph. Those are collectible moments, autograph and history. Tie autograph and history together as much as you can. Redemptions. Now look, a lot's been said about redemptions, and I don't think anybody's been more hurt by redemptions than I have, because I'm still waiting on my Christian McCaffrey glass card, rookie card from 2017, absolute. That's a glass card, man. There's no autograph, there's no history, it's just a rookie card made of glass. Why they couldn't send one by now? I think it's because they don't like me. Now, redemptions. There is a way to do redemptions. There's a good reason why they have them. I understand it. A good redemption program. Now, being that Fanatics is going to take over and Fanatics is going to have the players involved, right? You would assume, if done properly, redemptions would be a no problem. No, that's what I mean. If you have a player like, say, I'm going to just say XYZ agree to contract to autographs, and he's part of the players union, and then he doesn't meet the redemption date, you should have some type of fast track that somebody says, hey, can the players union call him and tell him you remember to get his autograph redemptions in? That's important for the players union commitment to Fanatics, who we sit on the board of. You see what I'm saying? Like there should not be a problem in the future with Fanatics. And I think maybe part of this is that they want redemptions to be so bad that when they come in and just simply make a very easy change or two with access to players, that we're going to be like, whoa, redemptions are great, because they do have potential. Now, here's another point I want to talk about redemptions. Story with Ken Golden, right? I don't know if you followed Sports Card Radio, but he talks about how Kenny Golden made a bunch of money building a card company, which he sold back in the, 90s or whatever. But one of the things they did is they didn't fulfill a lot of redemptions. Now, I want to explain to you why this bothers me and many collectors in the hobby. Ken kind of knew what he was doing. Like, it'd be like, I got a card company that's going into business, but the best way I can get my revenue is if I tell them I have Zion Williamson signing with me. And I go out and I don't have Zion Williamson, but I put a bunch of redemptions in that I know, or unfortunately I've never fulfilled. And when I don't fulfill them and people are trading them again, this is the 1990s, so things were different. But imagine that today. He should have walked away from the hobby after he made millions off that redemption debacle, whether it's his fault or not. He should have just walked away and just gone into, like, I don't know, farming. I don't know, but not come back to sports cards. Unfortunately, he stayed in it because I think the problem is he knew that was a vulnerability to the sports card industry. Do you know what I mean? Same thing with the authentications. And the Sports Card Radio brought to attention his signature being used for authentications of, certificate authentications. He knows, right? So again, I'm going to tell you, I go back to the story, okay? Focus on history and focus on autographs. I don't see much history in 3 Logo Man being attached to a piece of cardboard. Now, you have to tell me where the Logo Man came from. I need a little bit more to it, right? It's not like it's like Michael Jordan and Kobe and LeBron. Oh, they did one of those too, right? See what I'm saying? Like, I want history. I want history and autographs. So, last comment. I feel like I'm leaving something out of the redemptions, but we'll come back to that if it pops in my head. Love the hobby. I love the hobby. I don't feel like there's enough people talking about solutions and how we make things better. For example, I look at organizations and it's interesting to me. I'm a kid of the 2000s. But I heard about in the 80s, they had these things like fan groups and clubs, and they could influence, like the Star Trek group got like them to release a movie, or I don't know, the Star Wars one got them to do something. But these groups had power because there were people who write in, they were active. And this was before social media. Today in social media, we're all about individuals. Individuals have thousands of followers, and that individual wield that power, good or bad, but they wield the individual power. What we miss today, what I feel like we're lacking, you tell me if I'm wrong or not, is an active community, not individuals, but a community of individuals that are stronger together that act in the greater good of the community. Like the thing that I think's driven me crazy about the hobby is why don't we improve upon things like fraud, like false autographs, fake slabs? Why don't we work together as a crowdsource, report on, track? Why don't we share information on when big hits are pulled, right? Why don't we share information on what cards cost or what deals were sold for? There's so much we could improve upon in the hobby. And I am optimistic that there are ways and there are groups that are going to make changes in the future. So when I look at the future, I would say that I think it's not a place to invest money. This is not an investment place. You can make money, but you can make money in a lot of things in the world. Doesn't mean they're investments, but it's a fun community. There's a lot going on. There's constant change. I love watching sports and thinking about the hobby. When I see, like, I'm hearing about this young kid who's going to be the top draft class of the NBA next year, I'm thinking to myself, well, I wonder what the NBA is going to do. Who's going to tank to get him? How's his card price going to be? Will his Prism cards be like? I also think that things like John Wall going to play for the Clippers, if he wins, a ring, or what if he won 2 rings for the Clippers? Man, how amazing would that be? Would that change his card price? All those things run through my head. Please, please, don't think of that as investments. That's just you thinking like you're a gambler. I understand. With that, I'm going to go ahead and let you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the story. Remember, autographs and history. They can't print either of those.